All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Ignite Initiative. I have a great family friend, longtime friend, Christina Auriti from Body Movement PT. Christina,
hey guys.
Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Good. I'm glad to have you on. And
happy to be here.
Yeah, talk about your story and, pretty much, how body movement is what it is today and how it came about and everything.
Yeah.
So, obviously being a business owner is crazy, wearing all the hats in the business from sales, marketing, organization, for your business, all the insurance, all that.
Oh, so, yeah, it's fun.
I bet. So obviously PT is about the body, about movement, all that. How did you first get into that kind of, did you like training, stuff like that? How did it all start?
So I was always like into sports, always athletic my whole life. Okay. And initially, I wanted to be like an athletic trainer because that's all I ever heard of or knew. Physical therapy 20 years ago wasn't what it is today.
That's very true.
It's much more common. People know more about it. It's a field that has grown so much over the years. So I was like, okay, I'll do athletic training. And then my guidance counselor in high school was like, why don't you be a PT? So I was like, okay, sure. And I just kind of fell into it. I volunteered at a office in Franklin Square, applied, got into school, got into the program, and that was it. Rest is history.
How did you first get into fitness in general? There's something like something happened, or you just always were?
I was just always athletic. I just would like sports, so I just would do my own thing, and then eventually became a trainer as I got older. Before PT school, I was a trainer in college, and kind of just, it goes hand in hand, but there are some differences.
There's definitely big differences. But I think the main thing you probably learn from training with people is just that one-on-one like communication with people,
correct.
Right? That carry over?
Yes, because you need to just talk to them.
Yeah. For
their goals, for whatever it is they want to tell you, because you find yourself being a therapist.
You kind of are. Because there's a lot of good coaches that I know, like gym-wise, but they're not really the best business owners or trainers because they can't really talk and communicate with people.
Correct. And you are your brand, no matter what you do. Whether you're trading, whether you're working in an office setting, whether you're a business owner, you are your brand. Yeah.
So PT. So how was like PT schools? I know that's always tough. Like how was that whole experience?
PT school.
What was that like?
It was intense. I honestly didn't think it was going to be as hard as it was. And it was cool because you were with like a group of people that you followed your whole class with. Yeah. So year 1, year 2, year 3, everybody was together. So you found like a nice camaraderie there with everyone, and like everyone helped each other out, and like study sessions and all that stuff. And then you did your clinicals. So you did your different rotations at different places. You were in a hospital, you were an outpatient, you were in pediatrics if you wanted to be, in neuro if you wanted to be. As you did your clinicals, you were able to see where you really found your niche, kind of. So
okay. And then obviously you're outpatient. Like, how did you like try different areas in your clinicals and you didn't like it, or
no? I just knew right away that outpatient was for me. I did work a little bit in a hospital, which I found really gave me a lot of like medical background.
Yeah.
Where
right? It's not...
you learn things there from like a medicine standpoint. Just general medicine is what you learn, and it actually helps you in just life and in your career as a health professional. It can't hurt.
Was there any like tough moments in school where you're just like, this is tough?
My studying for my boards.
I want to quit type of thing.
Studying for my boards. Yeah. That was rough. That was, we graduated. About a month later, I took my boards, and I was like, dear God, please just let me pass, because I don't know if I could do this again. It was rough. That was probably the toughest part. Just nerves and like, that's a big test. My whole career.
I can only imagine. Because
you fail that, then you got to study again,
do everything all over, basically.
Wait. Yeah. So
we had RAF for like 2 years at the time. I was probably 24. I had the health science degree, so I had most of the prereqs for PT school, and I was thinking about going back for it. Right. So this is a true story. So I went to I needed physics, so I hated physics, obviously. So I took the class at Nassau as RAF was going on, and it was okay. But my teacher, like 2 months in, I gave a project in, and I stapled the staple the wrong way. She took 10 points off. I swear.
God.
So like, and this is before PT school. I haven't been in yet. And she gave me like 10 points off, and I just left the class.
That's it,
I
I'm
never went back, and that was it. So I give you
That's
a ton
enough
of,
for me.
Yeah, exactly. So I give you a ton of credit because I didn't even get there. So
yeah,
that's
it was
awesome.
but like it was something I knew that I wanted to do, so the drive was there. It wasn't even like I didn't even bat an eye. There was like so many times where, you know, all my friends were going out and doing all this fun stuff, and here I am like sitting with like kinesiology books on a Saturday night. I was like, oh my God.
When you have a goal in mind, it's a clear goal. It's easy to resort back to that for that why, right? For why you're doing things.
Of course.
Now you're in PT school. You're doing the boards. You finished the boards. Did you always want to open up your own place, like, and be your own boss, or how did that come about?
I mean,
or not at first?
I feel like that's everyone's aspiration.
Okay.
Not everyone, but everyone's like, oh yeah, I want to own my own place.
In the
I want to work
field.
with athletes. Mm-hmm. I quickly found that working with athletes, I want to say, yes, I loved it, but I don't know if that's really where it was going to take me to that next level, to be like, hey, I'm going to be a business owner and own my own business and treat athletes. It sounds great. But as you are now working in the real world, you will find that it's not only about that. And believe it or not, really the geriatric population has just taken over a lot into PT, just because people are living older.
They need it.
They're living longer, they're older, and, you know, joint replacements come out, so people are walking around now as opposed to being in a wheelchair for however many years that they could have been. So this advancements in science and technology has really taken some of that healthcare field to the next level, and I enjoy working with them. You know, it's
rewarding.
It's like working with my grandparents.
Yeah, no, because it's funny because in the training side, like we always wanted to do like athletes, and we still do, but we have a lot of adults now too in both facilities. But it's really rewarding helping adults because like simple stuff they couldn't
appreciative
do,
of it more.
Right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like just like for us, like it's like energy levels and like feeling like themselves again, and then for you, I'm sure it's like, you know, like they can literally play with their kids again or their grandkids.
Yeah,
again,
they want to just walk to the bathroom without pain, and like if you could get them to do their little activities of daily living easier without pain, they'll love you forever.
So that's really rewarding.
It's not a big thing, but it holds much more value and much more weight.
Okay.
To the individual, I think.
So how did you first like take the plunge to be your own boss? What is?
So I worked at an outpatient place for about 10 months before.
Okay.
And I was like, this is not for me. It was a really high pace, like quick, lots of patients. I learned a ton, so I really was very grateful for that. But I was like, you know what? It's time for me to move on. So I applied for the place where I am now, and I was the only therapist there. And I was like, listen, I'm a new grad. Like, is this going to be okay? And he's like, you figure it out. I was like, okay. Well, here we are figuring it out. And then I was still there for about 6 years, and then I approached him and I was like, listen, what's going on here? I'd like to be a partner. And he ended up selling it to me, and here we are today.
Awesome. That's really cool. Now, when you're the partner, you're taking over the business, there's a lot of other things that come with it. Was anything like really like troubling in the beginning on that front that you weren't really aware of?
I think just managing like money and understanding insurance and how to balance your account, make sure that you have money in your account to pay for random things that come up, that you need to have your payroll covered and manage that was like a really big change because I never had to do that before.
Of course. Everybody gets into like business owners because
they're like, oh, it's great. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't realize that. So, and I had like some mentors, but like not really a lot. And like I would say I'm the first person to really like venture out and do my own thing. So it was a very foreign concept for me also.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm like, but you know, like this is what I want to do. Like this is it. Like I had the opportunity here, and that's it. And that was just a little bit before COVID, and then COVID hit 2 years after that, and then I was like, oh my God.
So how was COVID? Like how did that?
COVID was.
Were you able to see people or no?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
And that was tough. I mean, like, because the whole world shut down. So you know, and then I became pregnant in that whole time frame, and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm going to have a kid. Like, the office is like this, COVID. Like, what is happening here? And that was probably the hardest time I've ever had to, like, I had to figure out what was going on.
Just figure out a way to make it happen, right?
Yeah, and thankfully, you know, I had a good patient base established already.
Yeah.
My number one referral source was the orthopedic doctor in the office. He had passed away from COVID, like 6 weeks into COVID.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my God. It's like a double whammy. Yeah. And, you know, little by little, thankfully, the world was going in a positive direction for the most part. But we got through it. And that was the hardest part, though.
That's crazy. Did you find that, like, people during COVID, since they were off at work, they, like, were more available to come in or no?
Yeah, my morning shift is much busier than the afternoon now.
Okay. I figured that. It kind of changed the way, like, bookings happen now, right? It really does.
Yeah. I mean, most of my people are in the morning, or they're like on lunch break.
They work from home, probably, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's another thing too, like scheduling. Like that's a whole nother area of the business that's super hard to figure out. Like,
yeah. Well, Ignite's helped me with that, so I gotta give the shout out to Ignite.
Well, a little bit, but you guys were fine without us. But thank you. And then what about like insurance? Like dealing with that? Like is that like did they teach you that in school at all?
Absolutely zero.
So like that should be added in.
Absolutely nothing. That should be probably the number one thing that they should teach you is how to understand insurance, because there's so many different plans, there's so many different policies, in network, out of network, co-insurance, co-pay, reimbursement rates, all this stuff, and like you really don't know until you're in it. And I think if you nickel and dime everything, you just go out of
So how did you do it? Did Robin help you out with that or no?
I have a billing company that bills for me. So, okay. I mean, if I want a life, I need a billing company.
Got it.
If not, I'll just
it's worth it. For
sitting at my desk for hours and hours and hours on a Saturday, just trying to.
So that's all outsourced, basically.
That's all outsourced. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're wonderful. I love them. They make my life a lot easier.
You just rely on that.
Yeah.
But the insurance companies, they don't pay you right away, though, right?
No, like I got paid from somebody a year and a half ago, like last month.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's insane. So like it's very difficult to figure out your year end sometimes.
So how do you manage that? Like how do you know?
It's the billing company takes care of that.
They do.
Like, I mean, I asked them like, hey, where's this, is this payment coming? What's the deal with this payment and stuff like that? But they're on top of it more than I am. I probably should be a little bit more on top of it.
Yeah, but did they give you like future dates? Like this person's money's going to be coming in 2 months?
Right. Or? Some people, some yes, some no. You know, okay. I run an out of network practice, so I'm able to negotiate a little bit what I want my rate to be. Got it. Sometimes there's a little back and forth going on there. So it takes a little bit longer, but.
Okay. That's because I always wondered about that. And like, I feel like that's just a whole. It's
the most difficult. Treating people, that's easy. Like that's.
Because you know it. That's your passion.
Yeah, that's it.
The easy part of the business.
This is the stuff that's
of course.
It's just annoying.
Now, like college, okay, so obviously like that's one thing that could be added into the like course, right?
For sure.
Is there a lot of fluff in there or no? So I hear
ton of fluff. I think actually more clinicals. So they should do more clinicals.
Hands-on. Like, it makes more sense, right?
Like that's where you learn, and like update the information, because what happens in the real world is very different than what happens in the classroom.
I always wanted that for everything, but especially PT. I think it's so outdated what you learn in school, but then you learn it all in person,
I mean,
right?
but you got to do your CEUs, your education courses and stuff like that. So you're constantly learning. You
need a
which
base,
is great, but you need your base, and like boards orientated stuff is probably could be better.
So in a perfect world, like 1 year of base and then 2 years of clinical maybe or something like that? Or is that how it is?
Well, there's a lot of information.
There's a lot
you got to know. Especially now in New York State where there's direct access, so you can go to a PT without going to see a doctor.
Okay.
So you don't need a prescription for the first 10 visits or 30 days. So you actually have to know differentially how to diagnose if someone's like, oh, hey, I have back pain, but it could be something more significant than not just musculoskeletal pain.
Yep.
So, you do need your science background, if you will.
For sure. I mean, so you guys are open for how many years now, Christina?
Body movement since March of 18.
Since March of 18. Wow. So about 6 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Now, what is your day-to-day like now? Like, what is it like?
Since I've had kids?
Oh, yeah, well, right now, what is it like?
I mean, listen, I love what I do. I love being at the office. I am grateful to have a healthy balance where I'm home a little bit and I'm at the office. But The only thing to stop me in my tracks has been my kids, and I would have to say that is the hardest adjustment to like being a working mom and being there for them and not missing their school performance or who's sick and trying to figure out do I stay home? Do I take them to the office? I mean, my kids are at my office all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
that's
patience
cool for
like
them
it.
Too.
Listen, I can't work from home, but at least I could take them there.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
It's like playtime for them.
That's really cool. Anybody in college that were like in your class that like went on their own and had their own venture?
A couple people. Yeah.
Any of them?
Couple
not
people.
To like call them out. Any of them like fail at this?
I think they're all doing okay. One of my college classmates actually covered for me for maternity, which was
oh wow, that's really
he had no idea because I was married and I was like, Roman, remember me? He's like, oh my god,
that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually.
Wow, small world.
Very, very small world. So everybody knows each other.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the business, you have all this stuff going on. One thing that it definitely didn't teach you was building a team and like having people in your to follow your lead. So how does that experience been?
The hardest thing is finding people that care about your business the way you care about your business, which is very, very difficult.
How do you get them to care?
It all goes based off of the principles that you have put in place and like what you require of them.
Yeah.
And I like to have fun. I like to have a good time at work. I don't like to sit and be super serious all the time. I think that's why some people enjoy coming to the office.
It's got to be a balance, right?
But, there are times where you have to be serious and times where you have to make sure that, you're not on your phone or you're not, playing TikTok or whatever, which is, the battle that we have in today's world is the phone.
It's the truth.
But I think constantly giving them good praises and showing them and teaching them a good foundation of what you want them to do. From my aides, at least I could say that. For my receptionist who, has been with me for quite some time, who is now more like a friend. But like there's also, shout out to Robin. Shout out to Robin. But I also find that like, it makes it difficult because she is so close to me.
I know. I have that too.
Sometimes when I'm like, oh, Robin.
I know. I experience it too.
But she's the best. I wouldn't be able to be here doing this right now if I didn't have her making sure that everything is well taken care of when I'm not there.
That's true.
I'd be lost without her.
Now, do you have other PTs too, Christina?
I have one PT that works in the afternoon. Yeah.
Okay. So like, how is that like? Because like, obviously we know like, the training will be passed off to other people. It's hard, but like, how is it like making sure they're doing what you would do in those situations?
It's hard. Everyone treats differently.
Yeah.
And
so they have freedom. Let them have freedom in that, or is it like?
Yeah. I can't be like, listen, you have to do this.
Gotcha.
That's whatever your clinical.
It's not a blueprint, anyways. Everything's different.
Everyone's different. So whatever certain people do certain manual techniques different than I do, and guess what? Like that's okay. Like I'm not. You don't only need to see me. It's good to see other people. You get a different perspective. You get different hands-on approach. Like I said, certain manual techniques I don't do. Some may, and
as long as the job's getting done.
Correct. As long as they're
What about like culture-wise? Make sure they're obviously being nice to people. Like that's gotta be a must, right? Like that has to be.
Well, I tell Robin she's my first line of defense all the time. So it starts with the phone.
Yeah, that's true.
It starts with a phone call. That's it. True. Unless they walk in, but it starts with a phone call. So that's so important.
Yeah, it really is, and to have it like uniform across the whole business is really important. You want the same experience for everybody.
Yeah. So
for body movement, Christina, like the future, like what do you see it as? Do you want to open up another spot? Do you want to keep one spot? Which way are we going with this?
I did open another spot for a quick second, and then I got pregnant again. So
okay. So that was tough.
So that was tough, and I'm like, I can't do both of this at the same time. It's just it's I can't be everywhere,
of course,
at the same time, and that's just I wish I could, but I can't.
Yeah.
I like to maybe dive into a different field in PT, like take like a corporate wellness account approach, where you like bring your service to companies and stuff like that. That's something
that's interesting.
Dabbling with now, which is very different. And since COVID, the office life is different. So starting to come back now, though, people have that hybrid approach. So it might be a good
So how does that look? If you got one of those accounts, like how does that work exactly?
Well, I leave the office for one day.
And you just do it at their
office.
Really?
Yeah.
Individual still? Like
individual, still one-on-one.
Wow. That's really cool. And it's pretty common, I'm guessing?
Yeah, in Manhattan, yeah.
Wow. All right, cool. That's a really cool avenue. I never even heard of that before. So
yeah, I mean, it's something that not many people think about, but it's something I'd like to get into. Because you're guaranteed a day there. You see whatever patients are there. And it makes patients feel good. They're working at these companies.
Change of pace for you,
wow,
too.
like that's cool. Like my company offers
what company does that?
PT, Chiro, whatever. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's a change of pace for you too. So you can
it changes it up. Yeah, because it could get a little stale.
For sure. Anything can.
Yeah, it could get a little stale.
So Christina, like if you could tell your 22-year-old self something, or like somebody like a young PT in school right now, like something that you didn't know, what would you tell them?
I probably would dive into more like business education.
Yeah.
Because that is a big part of it. No matter what business you own, you still have those fundamentals that you need to have under your belt. And if I had to do it again, I would have like maybe minored in business or something like that.
Yeah.
Just to give me the educational background to understand things that took me a little bit of time and experience to understand. At the end of the day, you're always going to understand things from experience anyway. But just to have like I
think to teach that in school would be great.
Yeah, I mean,
just like how to write a check in high school and stuff like that. Like it's the same. It's the same thing.
Careers.
Like I have no idea what I'm doing once I left like college. I'm like, what the hell do I do?
Yeah, it's I think college does. I don't know if they prepare you for like the reality of the real world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's probably difficult to do that, but the only way to do that is with on-site, hands-on.
Or maybe you could start teaching these young PTs how to do it. Show them the ropes a little bit.
I could.
But that's awesome, Christina. That's great advice, and I appreciate you coming on.
Anytime.
And I wish you guys the best of luck with body movement.
Glad I could be here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.